make more mistakes.
Hi everyone. I've got Andy Todd with me today, who is someone I've worked with previous and in a startup. I'm sure we'll talk about that during the stream. But today we're going to work on a little project that Andy's wanting to do. He's come up with a wellness app he wants to build. So we're going to do that from starting from scratch, but today we're going to be focusing on GitHub's new Codespaces. So yeah, let's just jump straight in. So Andy's here with me. Say hi, Andy, to
Hi,
all the
Andy.
lovely people. Yeah, so I don't know if you want to give a bit of background on what you do, because you're certainly far more senior than I am when it comes to web development and stuff like that. I know you're very, very cool with your back end, and certainly a sort of master at Kotlin and that things, those sort of fun things. So I don't know if you want to give a bit of background to anyone watching that would want to know what your passions are. Not
Sure.
necessarily
Sure.
just not necessarily just coding either. You might have other passions too. In fact, I know you do. So, but yeah,
What other passions could someone possibly have?
I don't know. It's all coding.
Especially on a day like today where it's boiling hot here in Brighton.
Yeah,
But what better thing could you do on a Thursday or Tuesday evening, even
yeah, Tuesday even. Yeah,
a bit of coding?
yeah,
But yeah,
exactly. Man, it
I've
is
been a
hot.
software engineer for about 20 years now, which seems amazing actually. But I've used quite a few different languages in my time. Early days did quite a bit of Perl, but in much more in recent times, over half my career now, I've been well into the JVM. So that's languages like Scala and Kotlin, um, which are really powerful, strongly typed languages. Kotlin's particularly has been picking up some speed in the last few years. I've also done
Mm.
a fair bit of front end as well, using tools like React, especially, and quite into the DevOps too. So I've used Docker extensively for years, and in more recent times, been using Kubernetes as well, and trying to get more into the serverless. A lot of the serverless tools coming out, well, actually been coming out for a while now, actually, but they on AWS and Google and things, they've really started to mature and become really strong contenders for the infrastructure, especially with the costs. Um, so yeah, that's what I've been really interested in, especially looking at AWS more, because historically I've used a lot more of Google, but some of the tools on
Yeah.
AWS now, things like AppSync, I've been looking at,
Oh,
are looking really really interesting.
I don't think I've heard of that. So yeah, I should say, like me and Toddy worked at a startup, and we were using all the stuff Toddy said. Really, he was very much the leader in getting all the infrastructure together and sort of managing the very big project.
Mm.
So yeah, it was really cool working with him on that. So yeah, if you do have questions about infrastructure things, a bit more in depth, definitely stick them in the chat and let us know. You'll be crazy not to sort of pick Toddy's mind on these things. Um, so yeah, um, what are we looking at today? We're looking at Codespaces, right? So I guess we'll just jump in. I'm just going to do a quick check on the stream, make sure um, it's all healthy, and then we jump into looking at that.
Yeah, I mean, Codespaces seems like a really good place to start for a first look at something. It's about really managing to create your own dev environment and have that available to anyone who wants to work on your project. So naturally, at the start of any project, the first thing you want to do is make sure you've got the right dev environment, make sure everybody else working on your team is going to be able to easily recreate that tool set, recreate those languages and settings, all sorts of things, which before things like Codespaces came along, are a traditional bugbear, especially of anyone who's come into a team halfway through a project, which is most people. They know you can spend hours, days, even weeks in some horrendous circumstances just trying to get your laptop into a place where it can start writing code. So this is a great new tool that GitHub only recently sort of put on general release.
Jump over to GitHub. Hopefully you guys, it's all good. So yeah, I think we're gonna focus. Don't switch device. Lost you for a second there, Toddy. Very all good. So yeah, so I think we're just gonna start. The plan was just to start a new repository, right, and get sort of the very base setup going. So we're going to use my GitHub account for this. Yeah, anyone just starting out in development, first thing you should do is get
Why not? Not a lot. I mean, there's a couple of things that I've used especially the last year or so. You know, trying to keep that work stress balance in good shape, but particularly two tools is like a meditate or a mindfulness timer is quite a nice thing. I mean, there are plenty of apps out there, but it's quite a nice little project as well that you can quite easily do as a web app. Yeah. As I was thinking, mental, but I don't think we have to. Don't think we have to restrict ourselves. Nice. Just before you go on, dude, actually, doesn't matter. I was just going to say about the public and privateness of the repo. So, I mean, the obvious implication of a public or private is that anyone can see a public repo if it's attached to your account, and only you and other people you've enabled can see a private. But something else which might tempt you into making your repo public, especially if you're just playing around with things, is a lot of the GitHub features. The more advanced features are free to public repositories, and with the private ones, they might give you like a free allowance, but often they're charged. So if you're thinking it doesn't matter too much, go for public because you'll get a bit more for free. Everything all right there, Steve?
Yeah, sorry. Just mic. Okay, I think we're okay. Yeah, sorry about that. I really annoying this mic. I'll have to work something out for the next one. Right. So yeah, that's created our repository. We've got our main branch. And then because we're going to be showing you Codespaces, which is awesome. We've both been playing around a bit with this. It's like really cool. So it's basically VS Code your development environment in the browser, which is amazing. So it's basically doing it using Docker and some cool stuff like that. I'm sure Toddy can talk more about that. Yeah, you can configure. We're going to be using this, but maybe we just show you the configure bit. So we're going to want to create a main branch, select your region. We're in Europe, so we're going to stick with that, but obviously set that to the closest to where you are. And then the free one, which I thought was pretty decent actually, was 4 cores and 8 gig, which is pretty good for free tier. But if you pay for it, obviously you'll get a lot more choice in what you do. Yeah, if you're doing an enterprise app, obviously you're probably going to want a bit more than that. But we're just going to be doing predominantly front end for now, so that should be fine. And then you just create. And it spins up.
Yeah, I mean, when you on the paid tiers and on the enterprise accounts, you can get much more powerful hardware. I mean, if you were doing things like we were doing at the startup, where we had like a whole Kubernetes cluster running on the local dev for the app,
Yeah,
you need quite a bit more grump. But for a React app, especially at the beginning when it's a little baby thing, this level of hardware is going to be great. It's going to be really snappy.
Yeah, I think we were running like 7 and 8 different services, right, all at the same time on the Kubernetes cluster. Yeah, it was crazy. I'm sure there's much huger places than that as well. Like, imagine when you get like, Microsoft levels and those big tech people, it must be crazy confusing what's going on. Yeah, so that spun up our repository. So we've got terminal running VS Code. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
So for anyone who's used to using Docker or who's using other dev environments but hasn't come across Codespaces, I mean, often what you'll want to do when you're setting up your dev environment is use a Docker image. or something like that, so that and a Docker image, for anyone who doesn't know, is basically a way of defining like a Linux environment and having pre amount of tools installed and settings and things. And quite often in a dev team, you might use a Docker container for a dev environment because it means everyone's got exactly the same environment. But what they've done here at GitHub is they've not only given us Visual Studio Code in the browser, which is awesome, but they've also set it up so that there's a Dockerfile defined dev environment there and automatically connected to the editor. So this is so useful. I mean, what I've been doing while I've been at home, I've been playing around with the wellness app, and playing with a few features. I've been able to do this on my iPad. I mean, I've got an external keyboard, but
that is
because
so
everything's
mad,
in the browser, everything's in the cloud. It doesn't matter. You don't really need much hardware. You just need a big enough screen.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
It's so cool. It is really cool. Yeah, it's nuts. I remember a few years ago when I was like learning to code. Well, a good few years ago now. When I was learning to code, I was doing it while I was at work. So I used to work in TV industry. So it's like in a room with broadcast TVs going on, and I was like, I obviously couldn't install programming languages on my broadcasting computer. Like the IT people would not like that. And I was like, I wish there was a way to do all this stuff in the browser, like, you know, a bit more in depth than just doing like basic JavaScript and you know, markup languages, because you could do that in the browser at the time. But it was like, if I had this, then I could have done even less work. It would have been great. But
and this is so good at companies as well, because one of the age-old, points of contention at companies is developers wanting to be able to install the tools they need on their machines, and then you'll have like the IT team, wanting to know what's on all the machines and saying, well, we've got to verify that this is safe, which obviously it doesn't. It's really hard to make that work. It's really hard to justify everything a dev team needs, but at the same time allow them the flexibility to be able to grab a tool when they need it.
For sure.
And this setup makes it so much easier, because it means none of that stuff actually has to be installed on the dev machine on your laptop. I mean, maybe VSC. I mean, if you want to use, because you can hook this up to the VSC running on your desktop and it'll be just the same. So if you wanted to do that, there are a few little things which I haven't worked out. Like if you want to use like the Vim key bindings, which I quite like. I haven't managed to get that to work in the browser because you need the escape key to change modes.
I hadn't thought about stuff like that. Yeah, shit.
Yeah. So there's probably a workaround. I haven't really spent that much time looking into it, to be honest. But it's little things like that. I suppose it's a new tool. It's relatively new. It was in beta for a fair while. Now it's on general release.
Yeah.
But even if there isn't a solution to that, I'm sure they'll work it out.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, you always can have little teething problems like that, I guess. But yeah, stuff like that hadn't occurred to me really. Cool. So, what do we want to do now? So we want to install React, right, for this?
Before we jump into React, should we have a look at some of the ways you can customize your Codespaces dev environment?
Oh yeah, that's a good. Yeah, let's jump into that. So we should.
So there's a really easy. They've put in a really nice, easy way to get started on this, and they'll generate a lot of the stuff you need for you. So if you open the command menu,
so we want to, and
you can see it, that last option there. Yeah.
Codespaces add. Yeah. Okay. So this does the remember I was talking about this. So we want, because we're going to be doing React, so we want to install Node.
So what this is doing,
there is sorry, go on, Toddy.
I was going to say, what this is doing is we're telling VSC that we want to create a custom environment. So the one that it boots up by default when there's nothing in the repository to tell it otherwise, GitHub is set up as just like a really sensible default environment. So it'll have tools for Node, Ruby. It'll have Git installed, or the GitHub CLI, a bunch of sensible tools. But if you want to be able to fine tune yours a bit more, which you'll probably want to at least a little bit, you can use this option to start doing that, and it will do a lot of the work for you based on what you tell it you want. And so this first thing it's asking us is like the broad template, which is mostly going to be about what language you're using. So if we're doing a React app, that's Node, obviously.
Yeah, it's cool. I do really like this actually. It's got so much, like all the sort of main things you'd want.
It's clever as well. I've seen on other demos of this that we're obviously starting with an empty repo, so it hasn't got anything to go on. But if you have an existing project and you want to create it, after you've already started the project, it will notice what language you've been using and suggest that at the top of the list and say, you've been using JavaScript.
Nice.
Maybe you want a Node.js environment.
Node and TypeScript. Okay, yeah, so we're going to use Node though for this. Oh yes, I forgot about it. This is awesome too. So yeah, we can install the any CLIs we want as we go. Yeah, this is awesome. I love this. So we probably want Git as well for this. I don't know. Did we decide we were eventually going to use AWS? I think we did, right? We might as well.
That's a good option.
Might as well install it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, you can. This is not like a do once and then you're left alone with the files, although you are left with the files. You can, if you decide some of these other features that we didn't know we wanted now, in a couple of years, I think, it'd be really useful to have the GitHub CLI.
Yeah.
You can just bring up this from the command menu again and change these. So
yeah, you can always install from the terminal as well as like old style anyway, because that's what it is basically. So this is just.
Although the only problem with doing that is that it won't be there when somebody else creates an environment. So if we want to make sure that everyone's environment's the same, it has to be reflected in the Docker file, which is what this will do.
That's a good point. Once you shut down the pod destroys, so you need that config to set it up. Yeah, it's a good point. So we're going to go with that for now, I think, unless we want anything else. Don't think so.
Maybe Git. I know you get the integration. It doesn't matter. You get the integration in the editor anyway.
I think I clicked this Git CLI, didn't I? So this generates the config file here. Cool. So we've got Node. And then we add extensions. Yes, we did add Git.
It's worth saying that GitHub CLI is slightly different from the Git tool itself. So GitHub is the software as a service tool where you can push your Git code to, whereas the Git tool, the CLI tool, is actually the thing for version control. So GitHub is the product of somewhere you can push your code to, and Git is a source control tool. So they're slightly different things.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't realize you were talking about that. Yeah, cool. And we were
talking immediately about that customizations bit there with the extension. I love this. So this is often in a project. You really want to you want to be creating the same environment for everyone. And one of the ones that always causes hassle, if you don't address it, is formatting of code.
Devs love arguing over formatting.
Oh my god, yeah. And then if everyone has their own preference, but then if everyone just goes and uses their own formatting tools, every time there's a pull request or a new code setting, loads of code is changed, but the only change is it changing the tabbing and moving and sticking semicolons on it, which obviously is not really that useful to know. So a really thing to create more harmony in your team is to agree on settings and a format that everyone uses, so that it remains consistent. And this is a really nice way of installing, for instance, a common formatting tool.
Yeah, it is really nice. It is really nice. Yeah, formatting was definitely can be an issue. Like, you definitely want to not think about it is the key, right? You just want to be able to type it, get your program working, you push it, either it does it on save, or ideally when you push it to the repository it reformats it for you is the ideal situation, which we managed to get to at the end in the startup, but there's a few arguments about it.
Oh, well, there's always a few strong opinions floating around about it, isn't there? So.
Tabs of spaces.
Maybe we should stick an extension in here just to show people how you might want to do that.
Yeah, so should we put prettier in? That's like a
Yeah.
nice easy one. So obviously you can install, anyone that uses VS Code, you can install extensions here. So it works the same basically. Wait, what is it? Prettier.
Yeah.
There it is. So install, and then we want, so to it gives it a tag name, doesn't it? Where was that? Oh, sorry. Don't want to see the license. Oh, the identifier. Yeah, so down here. So all plugins should have a identifier. So you can, I do like this, I've got to be honest, it's pretty cool. So then you can identify it, and everyone on the team will be using Prettier. No arguments needed. So that's pretty cool.
It's another nice few little things actually. It might be worth just while we're in the file. So you can actually have, there's a bunch of hooks in there. So when it creates the environment, there's various points in which it's creating it. Like, for instance, the one they've got in his example there and commented out is the post create command. So that's saying that once it's spun up the environment for the first time for a person, you can have it run a custom command or bunch of commands. You could actually put it a link there to a script which is in your code, and you could have it there if it started to get substantial. But like what they put as the example, which is a really nice just little thing to have, is so that like the yarn install. So once it's created the environment, you've got your React app. You don't want to have to go and type npmi or yarn install. You know, the first time you spin that up, it can do it for you, and it saves you 30 seconds of typing.
That is cool. Yeah,
it's nice. It's just little,
making
your life easier things.
Yeah, instantly as soon as you start it, you've got your browser open with the app running. Like, didn't even type anything. I think that's quite cool. You can run tests as well, couldn't you? You could have all your tests automated before. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I like that. We definitely play around with that as we go with this. I think be good. Cool. All right, so we will need to rerun it though to like rebuild so it actually installs them. Which was rebuild container, I believe. Do we want to install anything else before? Too late, I've done it. We'll do it again if we need to.
Yeah, I mean, this is the nice thing about it. If we have missed something else, or if something occurs to us, it's just a matter of doing a quick change in the file and
rebuilding. Yeah, it's nice.
Worth thinking about, actually. One of the things with this, I mean, creating a React app is almost like the ideal scenario for this tooling at the moment. You know, it works really well for it. If you were working on something like the JVM, actually, where you wanted to use something other than VSC, like IntelliJ's one of the big ones. If you want to do some Kotlin or Scala work, for instance, I don't think you can at the moment connect to Codespaces with IntelliJ. But there's a few other options out there who kind of do the same thing. So, like, for instance, there's Gitpod, which has existed for a little longer, does a lot of the same things as Codespaces did before it came out. But one of the things they're now offering, no doubt partly because of Codespaces coming out, they're offering support for IntelliJ. So if you want to achieve the similar sort of thing as this, but do it on some of the languages Codespaces isn't supporting much yet, that's another really good option.
Mm.
It's taken a little longer this
It
build.
is taking a bit longer, isn't it? I thought we were going to get an error for a minute. Then you always like it takes that long. You're like an error's coming, but cool. Yeah, so we're good. So we've got Prettier installed now as well. So we are okay. AWS collecting all that data. Cool. So now do we want to do anything else, or we suppose we want to install React? Or
we
do
can have a very quick look at that Docker file.
Oh yeah, this is probably useful actually. It's going to want me to install Docker. I gotta say, I do like the Docker extension in VS Code, to be honest. I think it's quite a nice extension.
One of the strongest things about VSC, actually, isn't it? The extension marketplace. There's so many useful little things in there.
Yeah.
It's so easy to build them for VSC.
Yeah. So actually, because we got the AWS now, probably won't connect because I've not hooked it up. But yeah, it's cool. Yeah. So the Docker file. So yeah, do you want to discuss this? It's basically saying grabbing it from Microsoft, isn't it? So it's Node,
I think that's
and then
the only thing it's actually done.
Yeah.
But from here though, this is a bit more fine control. So whereas the dev container.json is a little bit more about the editor related things, I suppose. This gives you a lot more sort of low level control over the actual environment. So as you were saying, if we wanted to use the command line to install some more tooling, you could do it if it's something that's not listed in the in the officially supported options that we were looking at earlier. You could do it here. So this is, I think, it's apt-get. So this is going to be probably Ubuntu, but some sort of Debian based Linux distro. So it will have repositories full of all sorts of useful bits of software. And if you wanted to make sure that everyone in your team or everyone working on this project had those tools available, you could install those via apt-get here. You can sort of see an example actually commented out a few lines down.
Yeah. So apt-get run up yeah, so you list your packages. There's still additional versions as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice having these comments actually. Good developers always leave comments.
And this is also the place if you wanted to, they gave you a list of sensible, useful base images that you might want to do. So like this one's got Node pre-installed. There was other ones, if you wanted to do Rust, I think they've got one for that. They've got all sorts. But if you wanted to go really low level, or maybe you're migrating a project which already uses a Docker file to create a dev environment on the local machines, but you wanted to use it here in Codespaces, you can do that because it is just, at the end of the day, it's just a Docker container. So you can use any Docker container you like, any Docker file you like. There's nothing proprietary. There's nothing Codespaces specific about it, really. Although they've just added the dev container.json. That's kind of the extra features. But that's a really good thing. It gives you lots of control. It means you can easily migrate existing projects onto Codespaces if you want to.
Yeah, that's true actually. I didn't think of that. That's awesome. Yeah, you just create the dev container effectively with what you need, and then it's there on Codespaces. Yeah, super cool tool, I gotta say. I mean, we're what 30 minutes in, and we've been chatting, and it's basically already there for starting thing. No installing, no installing Windows subsystems, and then installing your libraries you want, all that stuff. It's like don't have to worry about the dev environment at all, really. It's because it's in the cloud. It's so cool, really cool. Yeah, cool. So yeah, anything else you want to go talk about?
I don't think so. I've seen hints in the docs about more features in here, which either they haven't quite fleshed out yet, or they haven't been documented.
Yeah.
It has talked about being able to set actual settings. So, like, I mean, it's one thing to install Prettier, which is good, but if you want to be able to tweak the settings or make sure it's selected to apply on save and things like that. That would obviously that'd be a nice thing to be able to do or set from in here. But I haven't actually seen the docs for that, so maybe that's something they're going to be fleshing out soon. That'd be great to see.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, chat. If you do want to know anything in particular, obviously shout out, and we're try and answer it for you. Or if it's something we need to look into, we'll obviously look into it on stream if we can. But yeah, just give us a shout out, and we'll sort of let you know. But yeah, if there's anything particularly you want to see, for sure, give us a shout. Cool. Right, let's get React then on the go. It's the base. Oh, that was because I was looking at the conference the other day. So yeah, they've React 18's out now as well. So to install React, there will be a command, npm command. Obviously, before the Codespaces thing, you'd have to go through install Node, install npm, and all that stuff. But Codespaces already handled all that for us, so we're basically straight into the development bit of it, really, which is pretty impressive. In really, you can do it in 10 minutes. If that is just, we're half an hour, but we've been chatting a bit, so yeah, it's pretty mental. So there should be a command. Where is it? I can never find it and can never remember.
Oh, hang on, dude. If on that menu on the right, third item down.
Oh yeah, create React app.
There we go.
So this create React app basically installs a lot of, like, really streamlines getting React up and running with a lot of the toolings you need and stuff. It makes it so easy to get React up and running. This is what we obviously, because it's browser based, you have to allow permissions and things like that. So it's just npx create React app, and then you give it your app name, which was wellness app, and then yes. So yeah, and it just installs packages. I mean,
for anyone who hasn't used React much, might be worth just saying that this way of creating a React app is it sets you up with a skeleton app, but it puts lots of like the React best practices in place. So things like when you want to build the app, and it minifies everything, and basically you don't have to worry about it. If you're a more advanced user and you want to do something else, you can easily eject. They call it ejecting,
Yeah.
which removes all this sugar and lets you do what you want. But I mean,
Yeah,
I've
you
always
can.
found the Create React app really useful.
Yeah, yeah, for sure is like things like I just saw like the Webpack popping up, you know, it's installing stuff like that, which is like super useful. Like any modern front end is gonna need stuff like that. So yeah, it does most of that for you. So it's quite cool. But yeah, I'm sure there's times where you need a bit more fine control, but React app for me has been pretty awesome, to be honest.
Yeah. If you want a single page web app with React, it's the way to go. It's giving you everything you're going to want to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, cool. So yeah, and now it's set up our app for us. So you know, we've got our node modules. Again, let us know, chat, if you want to deep dive a bit more into this, or like whether you're okay with this stuff in React, like installing modules and package JSON, and we know what you want to hear about if you let us know. So yeah, so it basically installs all we need. So you can see it's got the package lock JSON, and you wouldn't ever touch this. You would any changes you would make here, but really you want to install it in the let npm install them, and they will add your packages to the JSON file. But yeah, so this is the basic skeleton, right? So you know we can start in development. So it's already given us scripts, so we can build. We can do our development with Start. We can actually build the compiled app, so that will minify things and give you the final app in the build folder. It even does tests as well, so all your tests are already there. So I think we probably see, yeah, so set up tests. So yeah, you can get testing going straight away. It gives you your entry point as well, which is nice. Let's change the title. First things first, most important.
What might be worth showing, actually, this will seem like an obvious thing, but this is one of the things where you have to think about what they had to do to make this work when it's running in the browser and it's running on a Docker container on a remote server. If you run npm test, not npm test, npm start to start the development server.
We need to install.
I think you're not in the wellness app directory, are you?
Oh, no, I'm not. You're right. Thank you.
So I mean, I'm sure anyone who's done any React development would have done that on their local machine and seen this work. But what they've had to do to make you be able to see it on your browser running on your machine, even though the app's actually running on a remote Docker container in the cloud somewhere, is they've had to set up port forwarding, which it's trying to do now. In fact, actually, while that's sorting itself out, if you have a quick look back in the editor, if you it's telling us that it's happening now. If you look in the little ports tab next in the terminal, it will show us a list of the currently forwarded ports. So you can see there what it's doing. So it's saying port 3000 will be, which on the local address will port forward to that local address, but it's saying port 3000 on your machine. So this is just one of the countless little things that they've done to make this seamless. which is
Mm.
why it was an architectural challenge and an engineering challenge for them to make this work as well as it does.
Mm. Yeah, it is very cool. Um, how long was it in beta for? Do you know?
I think at least 6 months, at least maybe a year. I
Was
remember
it?
applying to use it, but
Ah,
the beta didn't work on personal accounts. Oh, well, that's down the line.
port forwarding didn't
Oh no.
work. Ah, no, there we
Oh, that's
go. I wonder why it didn't work first time because probably maybe the port wasn't up by the time it was
yeah.
interesting. So yeah, that's the app working in the browser with in the um with dev container on the in the cloud. Pretty cool. No, no, my machine not involved in at all in it really, apart from the browser, which I don't need my huge machine for anymore. Could have
So
just
good.
bought.
No more running
Why?
hot laptop to
Why
break
did
your
I
back.
buy that massive processor and all that memory? I don't need it anymore.
Yeah. You can literally run it from anything. I mean, you could go to the library and want to use one of the PCs there and log. I mean, you probably shouldn't if you're using company code because it's a public machine. But there's
Yeah,
no reason that you couldn't. If it wasn't a security concern, if you're just mucking around with some personal project, you could
yeah.
do that. All you need is a browser.
I
You
tell
just
you
need a
what,
browser.
this has got I mean it's got loads of potential all over the place, but I think it's got huge potential
Mm.
in education purposes as well. Like you say,
Yeah.
can you imagine like um I don't know what they do in school anymore, but in like your computer room, you you've got tools to do some very cool development stuff on low level machines. Like that's pretty good for educational reasons. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
think
really
that's a
cool.
great shout. I mean, you can imagine it like if you're doing a training course or something, and you just say they come in, everyone comes in
Yeah,
into the classroom, and all they have to do is go to a repo, Codespaces, and they've got an environment that you could have, your coding exercises or demo code in there, so people could start tinkering around
yeah.
instead of because I mean. I'm not even going to say how long it was that I went to university, how long ago it was, but when we were downloading bloody zip files into horrendous and installing IDEs sometimes because they weren't they were machines didn't already have them. It
Mm,
Yeah, I mean the use cases for this are almost endless.
yeah, yeah. It's awesome. Yeah, cool. So yeah, we're up and running basically. So um, yeah. So now you can start building your front end app. And that's literally all it took. It's pretty insane. Um, so let's commit where we are now. Again, if you guys want us to go into managing your Git stuff, let us know. We can look into CI/CD stuff as well if you want. Just yeah, let us know. So yes, we want to commit everything. So we just do first commit set up project. And then sync changes, and this will do. There we go. We're all up to date. Yeah, so I realise use the command line far less as well when it's in this. I don't know why, but subconsciously I like use the extensions more that are built in VS Code. Whereas before this, I'd do like code changes in VS Code, and then I would do all my all my sort of other things in the terminal, like doing Git management and stuff like that. I don't know why, but just being in the browser, it's like pushed me to use the extensions more. I don't know why that is, because you can use the extensions locally anyway. But yeah, just I guess a subconscious thing. So yeah, that's that. Anything else we want to talk about?
I mean, this feels like this is. I know it's quite a short stream, but it's quite a nice place for us to start. We've got a basic app, we've got a repo, we've got a dev environment
Yeah,
set up. I mean, we could go anywhere from here. We could go into writing tests. We could go into showing, the continuous integration and deployment you were talking about. We
yeah,
could even go into like how you might start automating, setting up some infrastructure somewhere to deploy the app to, in AWS or something. We could it's whatever you'd want to do. It's a good place to start.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Oh, well, we wanted to keep the stream fairly short, but probably not this short. It's up to you. If you want to carry on and do, I wonder whether going over Git stuff and PRs and things like that are useful for people. Maybe getting the workflows sort of established before we start building out the app might be a good idea.
Well, something we could do, which would be not too complex, because I mean, going into infrastructure and things is quite involved. So
Yeah,
and I'd want to be honest, be a little bit more prepared. But what we could do, which is fairly simple, is have some basic CI. So CI being continuous integration. And for anyone who doesn't know, this is really about when you push code, validating that and making sure that it builds correctly, making sure the test pass, basically making sure it's fit for purpose as much as we really can. And GitHub has a feature called GitHub Actions, which allows us to
yeah.
do
Let's
this
look at
really
that.
easily.
We can talk about it. We don't need to go into it too much, but yeah, new thing of Git actions. So there is a AWS. Yeah. So here we go. Continuous integrations. Grunt's still going. And then yeah.
Well, is there an
Deploy.
NPM one, for instance?
This is what
I'm sure there
I've
would
been
be.
playing around with lately.
Uh,
Sorry, NPM one.
yeah, I think there's a search bar at the top because it's showing us a bunch of like useful ones, but not NPM. Oh no, it is NPM. Yeah. So I think what you'd want to do, and actually the skeleton project's given us most of this, is the first thing you want to do when you push the code is you probably want to make sure the tests run and maybe try and create a build and make sure that all works. So maybe the Node.js one would probably be a good start for that. Yeah, and it gives us the skeleton for that too. So you can see in here what
yeah,
you can see in here. The first thing you've got up there is telling it when it should run this action. So basically, this is like a workflow. They call it a workflow. It's a sequence of actions that gets applied to code when it's been committed. So the first thing you want to do is tell GitHub when you want this workflow to be applied, and the default is pretty reasonable. So it's saying that when we push code to the main branch, or when we create a pull request to the main branch. So if either of those things happened, this workflow would be applied.
Hmm. Yeah. Maybe we should maybe step back a bit actually, because yeah, try and know what the audience level is. So should we talk a little bit about what push and pulls actually are, how they work in the in a development environment? I'm sure most people will know these concepts, but just for beginners in case they don't know. Yeah, so you can have different branches basically on with Git. So you always have your main code. They call it main now, which is your production ready app effectively, right? So it's been tested. We know it's good and it's out there in production. And then, but as you develop and add features in, you don't want to be pushing to that, because in development you're going to break things, just going to happen. So you want to be able to make sure your version that you're working on in development is ready to go to main before. So you will fork off different branches depending on what the feature ticket is, and you'll work on that. And then when it's ready, obviously you will create a pull request, and that will go to another developer to look at. It will give you the opportunity to run tests. So you'll have different environments as well. So you're almost certainly going to have staging environment, might have a test environment as well. So you can make sure your changes are going to work before they go into the main branch. So that's what we're saying on these.
Maybe you're right. Maybe it would be good to take a little bit of a step back here and actually just show like a pull request. I mean, if we go back to the
Yeah,
code,
that's a good idea. It's probably a good idea to do a pull request. So yeah, so if you remember, guys, when I did I just did a change. I pushed that straight to main because it was just a text change. We knew it was okay. But if I did that in the actual development environment, I would get told off really badly. So don't do that. Okay, so yeah, so okay, we go with a change example. I've got a ticket to change the title in the app. So we want to change this wellness app to something else. So to do that, we want to create a new branch. So you can see sort of with the app, the source control, it's like a main branch and then one coming off. That's basically what we're doing. We're going to create a new branch. So we want to create branch. See, this is where I'm like in the command line. I let's kill the app for now. Oh, I hit the wrong ones. Okay. So we want to create branch from. So we want to create branch from main. So you can create branches off other
it's
branches.
asking for the new branch name first, I think.
Oh yeah, right, okay. So this will be, it depends where you work, but it will be like a ticket number probably along with the title. So this is our first change. We say like 1 or something. Update title. If I could type. So, and then we want to go from main branch. And then we can change, we can publish a branch now, or we can make changes. Let's publish a branch now. So then if we go back to wellness app, we should have another branch. So you can see this code will be exactly the same at the minute as the main branch, but we're now okay to start working on the ticket. So we will change this to wellness app. What do we want to change it to? I suppose it doesn't matter. Let's put wellness application. Save. So then again, you can see this is quite a nice tool. I like the Git tool in VS Code. I still don't like the conflict resolution in VS Code though. I still think IntelliJ did it better. But anyway, getting sidetracked, that's a bit more advanced stuff. So it's showing us our changes so we can review them, and then we can accept it. We can do pull and push. So we want to do a pull request.
I think we want to commit first, don't we?
I think it asks you to do that, right?
Oh, right.
Does it? Oh, maybe not. I thought it did from the app. I guess not. So commit. Commit all changes. There's only one. Commit them directly. So you give a message. So updating title. Okay, so oh no, it's still going. So yeah, so now we should be able to do pull request. And yeah, so if you go back to Git, you can see it's then, it's recognized the changes. It didn't do a pull request, but you can do it here. You can leave comments. Create your pull request, so you can create a draft as well. So this is quite useful, I think, as well, draft. So if you still know you're going to make additional changes, but you still want someone to look at your code at the stage it's at, it's quite useful to do a draft pull request. So there's still additional work to do. And then it would, in a real working environment, you wouldn't just merge it straight away because that would defeat the point. You would probably want to ask a reviewer to come and review it, take a look at it. I should add you to this project, Toddy, so you can do stuff like that.
That might be a good way to show it.
Yeah, so
you can leave a comment for yourself though. In the code, you could leave a comment for yourself.
Oh yeah, you can do. So you can comment here, or you can go to file changes as well and actually go like, say, comment this one and go, what the hell is this? I mean, you wouldn't say that. Realistically, you'd never say that because that's not a helpful comment. It's something. I don't know what would be a helpful comment, dude. check design, maybe. Title name has changed or something.
Yeah, I mean, typically the point of a pull request is really to get other people's eyes on it, isn't it? So
Yeah,
you've had a look yourself, and obviously you think it's all right because you created the pull request, but quite often, yeah, there might have been some little detail that's got missed, or sometimes just another pair of eyes looking at a piece of code and people
yeah,
are noticing things. So it's a quality and safety thing.
yeah. It's also a very good way to learn, and because
Mm.
people have different skill sets and understand code better, or have a way at looking at things that you've not considered. So yeah, it's super useful to get feedback on stuff like that. And then obviously you'll get your review back. So if you've been good, you'll get it approved or request additional changes. So yeah, and that's it. And then if it does get approved, there will be other stages. I think we'd show this in another stream as well, right? We'd do so obviously because we haven't set up tests and things like that, but we will go into that in another stream. You will get it will run tests and make sure those pass. Various things various blockers basically you can add in before it allows you to merge to the main. So, but for now we're just merged because we know it's okay. But yeah, again, if you do that in real life situation, you'll get in trouble. In fact, you shouldn't ever be able to do that because the CID workflow should prevent you ever doing that. So
Yeah, usually you can set up the permissions so that most people can't actually push straight to main. It just
yeah,
won't let them,
yeah,
apart from like an administrator or something
yeah.
who would only do so
Maybe the
like an emergency.
CTO can do it, but anyone
Yeah.
below that, yeah, probably not. Yeah. Um, yeah, so that's Git pull requests. Yeah, again, let us know, guys, if you want to know anything a bit more specific, and we do it. I think should we discuss what we want to do next stream, or should we keep going a bit longer? We don't want to keep the streams snappy, I think, but
Well, I mean, as I was saying earlier, I think we're at a nice point. It'd be good to, yeah, it'd be good to go more into, how people use Git and how pull requests work. I'm sure if we were prepared for next time, we could set it up so that you could see me or one of us reviewing the other, so you could actually see that process and people making
yeah,
changes and all that kind of thing. Or we could go into actually, making sure that tests are running every time you push it to pull requests as well. I mean, if the tests aren't passing, then it shouldn't be approved,
yeah,
and things like that.
yeah,
We could go into all of that. We could look at infrastructure. We could look at writing tests. We could look into some of the stuff, adding bits and bobs to it. We could do any of that. It really depends what people are interested in.
yeah. Yeah, let us know, guys. If you watch this back on VODs and you want to see anything, just drop me a message, either on Twitch, or let me know on Twitter or any other my various social medias, and I will look at it. So I've got a YouTube channel as well, so I upload this to YouTube as well after. So yeah, let me know, and our schedule to show you that stuff. Yeah, so cool. I think next stream though we should probably yeah, I think we probably should do maybe What do you think? Do you get some tests and set up the PRs so they actually
I think it'd be a
block?
nice one to do, and
Yeah,
we could set up we could get a CI flow running so that we're making sure we're running tests and making sure that the code looks good. We could integrate that into the PRs as well, so the PRs won't allow you to approve and unless the
yeah,
tests are passing. And maybe go through some of the settings and things. If that's what we want to do, I mean that's definitely stuff you would be doing at the start of a new project, making sure that stuff's in place.
yeah, yeah. I think we should do that for um for next stream, or if you want to keep going, we can do that now. We should probably work out a bit. But yeah, definitely, yeah. I think we should do that for the next one.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Yeah, cool. All right. Should we wrap up, or do you wanna chat about anything else while we're here?
I think, yeah, I know. I think I think we've said it all during the stream, haven't we? It's a really exciting tool, the
Yeah.
Codespaces.
I do want to mention something actually before we go. Um, and it's the not go into it because I've not played with it at all yet, but I know we've talked about it just between us. Is the co-pilot
Oh yeah,
feature. So I think we will stream that at some point. Probably a lot later into this project. But Copilot, for guys that don't know, is GitHub's new. It's still in beta, but you can get onto try it out, which I think both of us have been accepted onto it now, right? So that's cool. But yeah, it's basically a AI. What was it? Copilot, wasn't it? Copilot.
Copilot, yeah.
Git Copilot. So yeah, guys in chat watching, check it. I can type and talk. Yeah, definitely check this out. It's pretty nuts. So it's basically you can give it like what it's doing here is you can give it a description of what you want to do, and it will effectively it's searching the database of GitHub, really, isn't it? And finding the most appropriate code solution, and it will fill it out and give you prompts when you need to get any variables in. But yeah, you can see what it did here. It's like it gave it a comment, and it knew to fill out the code automatically. It looks nuts, to be honest. So yeah.
I mean, I've been using it for. I've been playing around for about a week now,
Oh, have
and
you?
it
Nice.
is based. Yeah, I mean, I've been playing around with some features. You know, thinking about what we're going to do on the stream, and like I've just had it turned on just to see what happens when I'm just writing code like I usually would,
Mm.
and I mean, it is like an autocomplete, but it's like a really powerful one.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like it seems so good at guessing what you want to do. I mean, for your even on the like basic stuff, like if you start if you've just imported a library and then you start even just like writing const to do the variable or something,
Mm.
because it looks at what you've just written an import line for and goes, oh, you must want to use that, and then
Mm.
just comes up with basically the right code. So you just tab complete, and it's even for stuff like that, it's so useful because it's everything's so quick and it saves you so much typing. And the stuff like this where they're writing the comment to describe what they want to do, and then it actually understands that. Some of that's a little mind blowing.
Yeah.
I haven't played
I
with that quite so much, but
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it can save you so much typing.
yeah, for sure. The writing code bit and the sort of auto completing it's doing is like, we've sort of had that in a bit more limited way. It's more sort of this line, then the next line, the next line. So it seems expanding that. But what I find super crazy and exciting is the comments and like how it can interpret those and do it. So yeah, I'm pretty keen to get playing with that. It looks really cool. Yeah, so I'm sure we'll get to look at that at some point in the stream. So I will.
I think what might be good actually is just to, when we start writing some React code, just have it turned on and
Yeah,
see how much it
yeah,
can help us write the code,
yeah,
because it will.
yeah.
It will.
That is true. Yeah. Um. Yeah. Yeah. It just. Yeah. I can see like saving so much time. You're not like all the boilerplate stuff just there instantly. It's really cool. Um. Yeah. I think that's it
Yeah,
from
GitHub, man.
me.
They're coming out with so much good tools. It is, in fact, actually, since they were acquired by Microsoft. And I have to admit, as someone who in the past, oh, well, based on what Microsoft has done, was a bit like, is it a good thing that GitHub had been acquired by Microsoft? And I don't know
Yeah.
how much of this maybe they were doing anyway, or how much of it has been pushed by Microsoft. But some of the tooling that's come out and the features they've come out since then, like VSC, like the Codespaces, like Copilot, even just little things like they've got their own package repository feature on there now, and the actions and things like that.
Yeah.
It's awesome, and it's so good again because so much of it, especially if you're using public repositories on a personal account, is free. It's so much useful, proper enterprise level tooling. It is, and anyone can just go and use it. Anyone can learn to use it. You don't have to. You don't have to work for Oracle or someone,
Yeah.
to have the budget to get hold of this stuff. It's there for anybody who wants to give it a go.
Yeah, it's crazy nuts. Yeah, there was definitely that shift in Microsoft. It was quite a few years ago now, like, but yeah, it's they've definitely been good. It seems to be definitely in their development stuff. They've been really up in their game quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm still not too sure about Windows though.
Well, now we have Windows subsystem Linux subsystem, Windows subsystem for Linux, right? Who would have thought back in the 90s or
That's
the
true.
noughties that
WS,
it would be officially supported
yeah,
Linux running
WSL2 is pretty good actually. So
it's
yeah,
getting there, isn't it?
yeah.
I mean, I think, to be honest, in a lot of ways,
It's a little bit like
Codespace.
trying to polish a turd, though. I think, like, because
Well,
it is like a subsystem layer, so it's like, Windows is broken,
it's trying to
but
give developers the tools they need, because so much of the tooling and things for development, apart from the .NET platform, which is obviously Microsoft's own,
yeah,
but like nearly everything else is primarily supported on Linux, just
mm,
because it's available. It's what most servers have historically been run on. It's just where so much stuff has been built. So to add that to Windows, it makes sense. Although in many
yeah,
ways, I think actually Codespaces kind of is the beginning of replacing the need for it. Even
yeah,
that,
yeah, for
really,
sure, yeah, definitely, yeah,
it's just providing a dev environment
but
from wherever
yeah,
you want. I mean, that's kind of what I think that's the main push for WSL. It's giving people a dev environment, but in a Windows environment, so you can run all your desktop applications.
mm,
You've got all the hardware support. You've got all the enterprise support for that stuff, because a lot of big
mm,
companies don't want people running Ubuntu desktop. I mean, I
yeah,
know some people love Ubuntu desktop, and it's fine, but like some
mm,
tools are only written to run in Windows, and it simplifies a lot of things on the enterprise level. But then you want the Linux environment to actually do your deving, so
yeah,
it's giving you best of both worlds in theory. Although there's some complications with it, but as you were saying, I think Codespaces or even other tools like it, being able to create your dev environment in the cloud, it's just
mm,
that extra step, and it makes it easier, and it's putting a lot more of the workload onto the likes of GitHub instead, which
mm,
is obviously really what you want. You don't want to be able to sort this stuff out yourself. You want other
yeah,
people
for
to do it, and
sure.
you just to be able to plug in and play.
Yeah, it's crazy. I wonder where we're going to be in like 10 years' time now. Like,
Yeah.
can you imagine? Like, you look 10 years back, right? And it was, God, it was crazy. It was the Wild West, man. And like,
Mm.
like, come so far very short time. Like, I guess it's
Can you
still,
believe the iPhone's only about 12 years old?
is it?
Isn't it? Yeah, I
Shit,
think it was like, what was it, 2010 it came out?
that's insane.
Might not even be as old as that, I can't remember. But yeah, it
Uh,
was about then.
we're showing
Before
our
that,
we're showing
smartphones
our
were
age
actually.
now, dude.
You what?
We're showing our age now on that one.
Oh, wow, no.
But yeah, it's nuts. Like, yeah, just crazy. Yeah, no one will own, no one will need a powerful machine in the future, right? It'd just be
No,
if you can
I mean,
get a good web connection, that's all you need. Even gaming, like I'm quite a big gamer. Um, like Game Pass works really well. Like
mm,
even the streaming side of it, like it's pretty decent to what it was a few years ago. Um, so I am a bit worried though that it maybe puts too much power and control in a few very big corporate companies. So
well,
if
there
you're
is that thing.
if you're
And
effectively, sorry, go on.
sorry, yeah, I was going to say the obvious downside to something like Codespaces versus having a hefty laptop is what happens if the internet goes down.
Well,
It's
yeah,
like
yeah, that's true. Yeah,
basically you're completely screwed. I mean, even now without the internet, you're a bit restricted because like you can't push your code, you can't put anything into production or staging or whatever, But at least you can sort of get on with your local dev,
yeah,
probably.
yeah, it's
Um,
true.
but once you're brought into something like Codespaces, you're so reliant on an internet connection to third parties. Yeah, I mean that's the downside,
Mm.
you know. Um, but
I mean, it's not.
I mean that it's always about that, isn't it? It's always about looking to do the upsides outweigh the
Yeah,
downsides. I think in the main
I think yeah.
they do.
On the whole, certainly in the developed world, your internet going down is not a huge productivity killer, right? Because it's going to be down for a
Yeah,
few hours probably, like most places. It's not going to be a huge problem. Over the course of a year, it's probably going to save you more time than you lose because you didn't have internet for a day or something. So
yeah, and especially in a world where like hybrid working and flexible working is more of a thing.
yeah,
It makes it a little less important that if there's the internet's knocked out
mm,
for someone for a few hours, they just make up the time later or something, go and have a long lunch. I mean, occasionally that's good. It is going to be if you have to get something out now, then it's a bigger issue.
yeah, that can be a problem. Yeah,
But then again, that would still be a problem now because if the internet's knocked out, how can you push your code? So
yeah,
it's still
exactly. Yeah,
it's still hamstrung, aren't you?
yeah,
We're already so bought into the internet that problem's already there, whether we do this or not. I think
yeah, yeah.
just gives us an excuse to go for a longer coffee break, perhaps.
Yeah. The thing that always worries me though is obviously data centers and stuff like that. I know they have redundancies and things like that, but you are like there's three big companies, right, that basically run the internet now, like Microsoft, AWS, and Google. It's like they are huge targets for cyber
Mm.
attacks and stuff like that. Like whereas it's like if it's more broad, spread out, smaller companies, a bit more distributed, you sort of ease that threat a bit. So, but I'm no cybersecurity expert, so I don't know the ins and out of that. But I do think about that sometimes. Think like that's probably a bit of a worry because you never know how stable the world's going to be in future. Cyber warfare, it's already pretty big. So
Oh, it's already going on, is it? I mean, there have been outages. I can't remember what it was now. I mean, there's definitely been outages like where somewhat one of the big cloud providers has had an attack, or like one of their
I remember an AWS one about 5 years ago. It was pretty
yeah,
huge. I mean, it was
loads of
only
big company sites are out. Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it seemed a few hours, which I guess not a big thing, but when you're talking about these few like these big companies, it turns into billions of pounds, right? So,
Mm.
mm,
And then, although having said that, because they're so big and because they've got so much personnel and tooling, they can
can
invest and have the expertise to try and deal with it as well, I
yeah, and get
suppose.
it back up quite quickly. I mean, the
Yeah,
fact that you got that cloud infrastructure, and that doesn't see does mean you can get it back quite quickly as well. Yeah. So,
yeah, you've got
yeah, swings.
capacity to route things elsewhere, and
Yeah,
it's just like everything. It's the pros and cons, isn't it? I know what you mean. I mean, it does seem a bit disconcerting sometimes when there's this much monopoly over something that's so key
mm,
to everything half the things we do nowadays, isn't it? But like,
yeah, it's good. Well,
it just seems an inevitable part of things. It's the pattern, isn't it? There'll be something else new at some point, and there'll be another explosion of minnows taking over the world, like Google did in the
yeah,
early
that's the train you want to be on if
yeah,
you're gonna make a shit ton of money.
how
Is
billionaires
be
are
ahead of
made.
the curve.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, dev wise, it's definitely good for us guys for sure.
Mm.
Uh, cool.
Yeah.
All right, I think wrap up now. Unless you got anything else.
Nothing else, dude. I think we're
Okay,
good.
cool. So yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday, same time. If you want to see us, we'll be doing a bit more of establishing tests and the CI/CD stuff, I guess. Yeah. Come along, watch us Tuesday 6 British Summer Time to watch us talk nerdy stuff and nonsense. All right. Cheers, Toddy. Great
Cheers, Steve.
chatting with you. And we'll see you next week, chat. All right. Bye.
Bye. We off.